Every 2 years, your state House and Senate members take the issues and needs of your district to their fellow state lawmakers to ask for funding. As advocates of the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture, you have the opportunity for your voice to be heard as a result of the relationships you've built and the conversations you've had with your elected officials. I spoke with Nate Bell, a former State House member from Mena, about how to effectively shape and communicate your message and how to build these critical relationships with your local elected officials as you work to advocate for the Division of Agriculture. So, Mr. Bell, what's the difference between lobbying and advocating?
Advocacy is when a citizen just speaks out in favor of something that they support. Lobbying has a very specific definition in law. It's when a person spends or earns more than $400 in a calendar quarter for expressly advocating for or against a piece of legislation. So going to a public official and speaking your mind, telling them about your personal experiences, encouraging them to support a program or various other things, as long as you're not talking about specific legislation, is not lobbying.
So it's a very specific, well-defined line.
It's incredibly well-defined because there's so much controversy that surrounds it.
What are the most effective tools that an advocate can have?
Well, I think the first and most important tool that any advocate has is their personal story. Legislators are human beings. They live the same lives that everyone else lives. They have the same cares and concerns, same hurts, the same goals. And as a part of that, I always point people back to the fact that most legislators, most public officials run for office because they want to improve the quality of life for everyone. They want to make our state a better place to live, work, and raise a family. As a part of that, it's very important that you, when you're advocating with them for a program, it's very important that you show them how that program improves your ability in one of those areas to live, to work, to raise a family.
How do I talk to my legislator?
Just like we're talking here. It's important that you, once again, just treat them like a friend. But more importantly, it's important that you don't approach them for the first time when you want something or when you're angry. It's very important that you have a relationship. And so that means contacting them in a moment when they're out in the community and telling them, about your 4-H project or the impact that a Division of Agriculture program had on your farm. Telling those stories so that the elected official actually understands why that program has value in their local community.
And not to be a fair weather friend.
Absolutely. The most powerful words you can ever use in a discussion when you're mad, when you're very upset by something that an elected official has done, is "I'm disappointed." Those words only work if they know you. So that's why I come back to it's very important to build that relationship on the front end. But once you've done that, no one wants to disappoint a friend. No one wants to disappoint someone that they value. So when you've built your value in them, they're going to take it very seriously when they've disappointed you. And then to follow up on that, then being able to say, not only am I disappointed, but I want to be able to work with you to make this better in the future. Powerful, powerful combination.
Now, you've spoken in the past about how once somebody gets elected, he's perceived or she is perceived as a completely different person. Does being an elected official change somebody?
It doesn't change the person, but it changes the relationships. I've told you cases that I know where people lost friendships simply because someone got into an elected office or because of a decision that they made when they did the best that they could to make the right decision for the state. You're constantly faced with difficult decisions, and it changes relationships. And so people, particularly legislators, place a high value on those people who continue to have a normal relationship with them. So it's very important. It's critically important when you're looking to be an advocate for any cause to maintain those relationships just as you did prior to that person being elected.
How do you package your story? How do you tell your story to your local elected official?
Keep it personal. It's all about what its impact has on your family, what its impact has on your business, what the specific piece of legislation, if you're talking about a piece of legislation, how that improves your ability to make a living, how it improves your ability to feed your family, how it improves your ability to have a high quality of life in the community. It really comes down to the 4-H motto, head, heart, health, and hands. Each of those has a big impact on the quality of life in a community. And it's, one of the great pieces of research that I've seen recently, kids who go through 4-H, they're dramatically healthier throughout their life. Your legislator needs to hear that. When funding for extension programs for Division of Agriculture is on the line, it's very important that they understand that, look, the healthcare costs are one of the biggest costs of the state. If the state's looking at potentially having dramatically healthier young people, they need to know that. So that's just one specific example.
What kind of tools do you need when you tell your story to the legislature? A lot of people like to use numbers and statistics. Is that the best way to tell your story?
Absolutely not. People who want to know facts and statistics and all those boring figures will ask you for them. It's human stories. It's a young person seeing their legislator on an elevator and saying, hey, look, my 4-H project, let me show you my pig. Or, last month I did a research project on community health and how a specific type of behavior impacts my community. Those things are invaluable, but it really comes down to just having a conversation. Props are great, I think one of the more important things, though, even beyond the props, is including your elected official in your activities. If you're a farmer and Division of Agriculture Research has helped you on your farm, invite your legislator out to your farm to see that effect. Mm-hmm. Your 4-H group is having a meeting. Invite your legislator to participate. Invite your justice of peace and your county judge to come out and participate in your meeting. Do it as a civic project. It looks great in a record book. I visited with a group of 4-H kids here a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I suggested to them is, look, make sure that you ask your elected officials to sign your record book. Put a page in your record book with their photo, a couple news stories about them, and get them to sign it. It gives them buy-in into what you're doing. Again, it all comes down to treating your elected official as the human being that they are and not that impersonal figure that's out there that you just can't reach. Because the reality is they're very reachable. They crave that.
So your elected official is not someone you should be afraid to talk to, is not somebody that you should be afraid that, oh, if I invite them to my farm, I'm bothering them. Because let's face it, our representatives have day-to-day jobs too, plus they're going to the Capitol all the time. But they should continue to tell the stories that way.
Legislators have very busy schedules. All your elected officials have very busy schedules. It's very important that you invite. Now, they may not always be able to make it, but they know that they were welcomed. And so whether or not they are actually able to attend, when you've welcomed them, they know that you have an open door to them and that you're reaching out. And the effort is almost as important as the actual event occurring. So very important that you just have a welcoming attitude and that you are, invite them to your photo op. Politicians love to be in pictures with smiling people. So, it's just invite those open invitations, food. If you have cookies at your 4-H meeting, invite your legislator to drop by and enjoy a cookie with you and meet your group. Politicians love to come to county fairs. If you have 4-H projects at the county fair, make sure that you invite them to stop by your exhibit and take a photo with you. Drop it in your record book. All those things matter.
Where does social media play in advocacy?
In today's world, social media is very important. One of the foremost political consultants in America actually told me 2 years ago that he believes that the most important media for political activism is social media. But it's important that you use it correctly. Mm-hmm. And it's back to those stories. Mm-hmm. And if you've noticed, I continue to come back to that, and it's political messaging. All of political messaging really comes back to telling human stories, mm-hmm. but telling them in an effective way. So that means if you're Facebook friends with your local elected official and you have a positive story about something that relates to Division of Agriculture programs, your local county extension, your 4-H club, make sure that you tag them in that, particularly if they're in a photo. If they're in a photo, tag them. Make sure it's an attractive photo of them and not a terrible one, but that inclusivity They value that because it shows that they're involved in the community, and you are going to get a benefit from that because, once again, they feel welcome, they feel treated as a human being, and not that infamous evil politician out there. So, your legislator gets up every morning and puts their pants on just like you do. So treat them like that. The human factor cannot be overemphasized here. It's that open attitude, that friendly attitude, and most importantly, as I've said from the beginning, don't make your first contact with your elected official be when you're angry, and don't make it when you want something. Make the positive contact first so that you have that relationship, and remember that the most powerful words you'll ever say are, "I'm disappointed."
On behalf of everyone at the Division of Agriculture, I want to thank you for your support and your efforts to support us as we work to strengthen agriculture, communities, and families in Arkansas.